I was thinking about this, like there's a lot of people that want to be seen, but they don't truly want to be known. Because there's a big difference between being seen and being truly known. And for me, throughout my whole life, it was more like I wanted to be felt. I wanted to be known for who I really was. It wasn't so much so about being seen. Obviously, we all have this installed in us somewhere, like we want to feel that we matter, right? We all want to be of value. And sometimes those things get mixed up with each other because you're mistaking being seen or admired in some kind of way for being valued. But those are very different things, right? When it comes to truly being valued, people have to truly know you, because you can only be valued for what you really are or what you bring to the table. That is the same as you can only be loved for who you truly are. You cannot be loved for what you pretend to be, right? That's not truly being loved for who you are. So within this world, a lot of us rob ourselves from the very thing that we want or that we crave by presenting ourselves in a completely different way as we really are. But by presenting ourselves in a way that we not really are, we are robbing ourselves from the very thing that we actually want, and that is to be loved for who we truly are. So I figured, like, for me, it was always like I wanted to be felt. I wanted to be known for my essence, right? But there's not a lot of people that could see that throughout my life. And I've always had this sense of being able to see the soul. I've always had that since a little child. That's also why I had like difficulties with looking people in the eye, because I always saw a lot of things. I picked up on a lot of things, and it was often very painful. It's still today, like if I look at certain people, I can just see the pain in their eyes, and it touches me. And that was more so and that was at the same time the craving that I had to be seen for who I really am. Because that's the most beautiful thing you can get. It feels so safe, right? That you can be exactly who you are, and that it's enough. It's enough. It's more than that. It's perfect. You are perfect just the way you are. And it's such a nice feeling, right? And for the longest time, I lost track with myself, because throughout my life, I constantly got rejected, or not even consciously rejected, but it's like there weren't people that could truly see me for who I was. And it started to eat me up from the inside. But that taught me how to find it from the inside. Because if you always dependent on outside validation, it will be very inconsistent stream of energy that you need, right? So the best thing you can do is find it from the inside, so it's always accessible for you. And no one can rob you of it, right? But that's easier said than done, I know. But if I can do it, you can surely do it. It's a way of exploring yourself, right? Go inwards and really see yourself for who you are. And start to appreciate everything that you already overcame in your life, and that you're still here, still choosing to live your life with an open heart, still choosing to want the best for not only yourself but also the people around you, still choosing to make the right decisions. And maybe sometimes you don't, but that's okay. You know it and you feel it when you have a good heart and you want to grow, you know. Your intention is always to push forward in a positive way and be the best possible human you can be, right? That's also a choice. And it's not always easy to choose for the light. Because damn boy, it's dark out here. So it takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to keep choosing the right path. And I applaud you for that, man. It's not easy. So what I just want to say is, like, be proud of yourself. Value yourself, because you are so much more worth than you can ever imagine. And you start to see when you are detaching completely from needing it from outside, you will get it in abundance. You know, that's the law of detachment. The law of detachment. When you don't need it anymore, it will come to you in overflow. Very strange how that works. But it's also like you cannot have something that you don't have already within you, because everything outside of you is a reflection of your inner world. And it sounds very woo-woo, but if you look at it like that, you cannot stand in front of a mirror and be pissed at the mirror because there's spinach between your teeth, right? The more logical thing to do is to take the spinach out of your teeth and keep it moving, right? Why you are screaming to the mirror when it just reflects back to you, where you can, you know, adjust things or do things differently, right? And if you start to play that game, you will see, like, okay, I can actually change things, because everything in my surroundings is just data. It's just reflecting back data of how I truly feel from the inside, right? So if I experience a lack of love in my life, for example, maybe that tells you that you experience a lack of self-love, right? And if you start to look with those eyes to the things that you get presented within your own world, because everybody lives in his own world, then you start to play a completely other game, right? People are always easy to say, like, oh yeah, victim mentality and stuff like that. I am a little bit more nuanced in that, because there are instances where you are truly a victim of life, right? And of things that happened. But it's more so like, what do you do with it after it? You don't have to nullify the existence of certain pain and things you went through. I'm not a fan of that at all. You have to see it for what it is and go through it completely, naming it for exactly what it is, and that has nothing to do with a victim mentality. But after that, you have to know that you can make a decision to take another path, take another route, you know, to alchemize that energy and use it for something else. Trust me, I've had to learn that in the most insane ways throughout my whole life. I've been initiated to become a master transmuter of energy, right? So you have to learn how to do that, to, you know, to use everything that gets thrown to you in life and create something beautiful out of it. That is mastery. And you have that. You have the power and the ability to do that. So now all there's left is to teach. So now all there's left is to learn how to do that. Because the darkness and the pain and the suffering and all that stuff is inevitable. It's sometimes this illusion of people that think like we are here to be happy the whole day. I don't believe that that's actually our purpose. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe life is about being happy the whole time. It's impossible, because this reality, this dimension exists out of polarity, right? Contrast. So you always have two sides, but it's more about how do you master navigating both of them. And that also has to do with gaining knowledge about how, certain cycles, and knowledge about self, obviously, about what do you need during certain circumstances to be able to navigate them in the best way possible, right? But that is your circle of influence, that's your circle of control. But everything outside of that isn't. So you always have to deal with these two worlds, your inner world and the outer world, which is a reflection of your inner world. But still, there's a lot of things out of control within that same world. Make it make sense. Because that is also very nuanced, right? That's why you always have to listen to things with nuance and context. What you experience in your life 90% of the time is a direct reflection of your inner world. But you also have a large part of things that are outside of your control. And there it's more about how do you respond to what happens, and that is still focusing on the things within your control when things out of your control occur, right? So learn to navigate the waves. That is like one of the best things that I could do in life, is just first accepting that it's not always going to be fun. Life is like this earth is created exactly for that, to feel all those things, right? The contrast, the polarity, the suffering, it all has purpose. Pain, pain is inevitable, but suffering is often optional. Because if certain things happen and you keep rotating energetic waste of it without giving it a new purpose, that is when you start to suffer. There's a prolonged state of being in pain. That is often a choice. And it sounds fucked up, I know. But you have to go a little bit deeper into the psyche to understand how that works, right? So that's why it's, again, very important to self-explore and to get knowledge about what this reality actually is and how to navigate it, right? That's the basics of the basics. That is whole existence. That is that's everything. Everything is life, and life is everything, right? So we need to study it and understand what are the fabrics of reality and how do we navigate this dimension as a human species. So, couple of recommendations. Obviously, everything that got to do with the universal laws, principles, go deep into those. You have to. Sometimes it's very difficult for me to suggest some basic things, but the basics of the basics is just the fabrics of reality. How does this work? How does the mind work? How is reality created? And learn everything about that. And depends on your level of consciousness and level overall. But just start with those kind of things. How does the mind work? How does the universe work? What are the hermetic principles? What are the universal laws? And from there, you will find your way through things, or they will find you. And to be honest, I have a lot of books, but I'm not a big reader. It's very strange because I can get books and then, okay, I'm not even going to say this. Anyways, I've learned most of what I know through live and deep initiations, also plant medicine, which I wouldn't suggest for everybody, but just go on a journey with yourself and just explore yourself, explore this reality, explore the dimension that you are currently navigating. It's so important because eventually you want to bring all those things back to the only moment that truly counts, and that is the now. You want to go on a consistent journey of collecting information, but then directly translate it and transmute it into something that you can actually use to better the quality of your life. The only moment that counts is the moment of now. The here and the now is the only thing that is real. So yeah, do that for yourself, you know. Gift yourself with the gift of exploration, and your life will never be the same as long as you don't forget integration. Integrate the things that you've learned in your life. You have to create a system where you actually have a cycle of learning, acting, doing, and integrating. So do that. That's it. I see you in another one.